Well, Joe seems to think we're not going to face a recession, and as we know, YouTube commentators are never wrong. Let's investigate. So our last video painted a pretty gloomy picture of the future of the Australian economy by looking at indicators that show that we may indeed face recession in Australia in 2020. When we showed this list of indicators to our panel of leading economists, while most of them agreed that these indicators do increase the likelihood of recession, when we asked outright whether we're going to get a recession in 2020, only 16% of economists said yes. The vast majority think that we won't. So every argument has two sides. In this video, we'll go through 7 reasons that indicate that we may not face a recession in Australia in 2020. Number 1 on our list is the low Australian dollar. The value of the Australian dollar compared to the US dollar has been falling since February. It's at a low in the high 60s now, and our economists are saying that they expect it to fall by another 1 or 2 cents by the end of the year. Now, this is good for a couple of types of businesses in Australia. Firstly, any business that's manufacturing and exporting goods outside of Australia or providing services outside of Australia are going to benefit from this, because it means their goods and services are now cheaper internationally compared to other countries. So it should increase business for them and create jobs here. It's also beneficial for tourism, which we'll talk about in point 2. Number 2 in our list is that Australian tourism is booming. We've seen nearly 10 million people from overseas visit Australia on short visits over the last 12 months, and that's a 10-fold increase on the same numbers 20 years ago. The tourists just keep coming. On top of this, the Australian dollar being low means that when tourists come here, their dollar goes further. They can afford potentially to book a higher quality hotel or go on an extra excursion. So both of these combined should help create more jobs in the tourist sector. Number 3 is that our population keeps growing rapidly. Australia is a very attractive country for people looking from overseas because of the sun, the sea, and the sand. We attract a lot of backpackers who come here to work and end up staying. We attract a lot of students who come here to study and end up staying, and we attract a lot of people who come here straight out to work. Because of that, that makes up most of the population growth in Australia. We've seen 1.6% growth over the last 12 months. That's very high compared to other countries. It's only 0.7 in the US, for example, and 0.65 in the UK. All of these people coming in spend more money, create more jobs, and there's people there to fill the jobs. So population increase is good for the Australian economy. Point number 4 is that the Australian unemployment rate has remained quite low for quite a long time. It's 5.2% now. Generally, anything between 4 and 6 is seen as healthy. It means the economy is creating sufficient jobs to fill that increase in population. There's people coming into the country, which is positive for the economy. And if you compare Australia to other countries internationally, we're doing quite well. 5 on the list is that the government is spending a huge amount, $100 billion, in fact, in infrastructure. They're building the WestConnex in Sydney. They're building, finally, a rail link between Melbourne Airport and Melbourne City. They're expanding the rail network in Perth and a bunch of other projects. This will create a lot of jobs, obviously. And it's worth noting here that spending on infrastructure is one of the things that helped the Australian economy avoid a recession during the global financial crisis in 2007. 6, slightly controversially, overseas student numbers are increasing dramatically in Australia. We're seeing more students come from overseas, especially from Asia, to study in Australian universities and paying through the nose to do so. That's a lot of funding going into the education industry. It also means there's more people in Australia from overseas who can spend that money back into the economy, so it's good overall. There's been some comments that Australian universities are over-reliant on students from overseas, but either way, it's cash in the economy. Finally, number 7 is that Australia has actually dodged economic bullets 3 times before. 3 recessions, an Asian one in late 90s, the dot-com bubble in 2000, and the GFC in 2007. All of these were avoided in Australia due to geographic and economic isolation and good financial management. We've seen economic growth for 27 years in a row, so there's no reason why, if things get gloomy outside our shores, that can't continue here. So in conclusion, we've seen 7 reasons why we will see a recession, 7 reasons why we won't. On balance, I'm a little bit unsure of which way to go. I think I lean slightly more towards the argument for recession. I've, for example, decided to hold off on buying property in Sydney to watch what the housing market does. We've done a lot more research on this. You can check out further lists of reasons on the Insights blog, which is linked in the description. In the meantime, have we emerged from the long dark night? Are we going to face positivity or negativity in the future? Which argument convinced you the most? Please let us know in the comments below. And in the meantime, you can check out All of our research on finder.com.au.